Hey, what's up, everybody? Brian Maples back with another video. So I wanted to talk about today. Um, you ever get that time where you have an idea and you think this is the greatest idea I have thought of in a long time, or I swear I get one of those every other day, and it's like, you know, man, I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna go right after this idea tomorrow. I'm gonna absolutely crush it. It's going to be great. It's going to work great. It's going to be awesome. So, a long time ago, I took a personality test, and I just believe in kind of knowing yourself. And one of the things it said, and it was like spot on, which is kind of scary. But one of the things it said was that, like, I'm very good at seeing the bigger picture and like breaking things down. So if I have an argument, it said one of the things that was really funny. It said something about like if you get into an argument, you might just take the other side just to play devil's advocate, just to, even though you don't believe in it, just to argue the other side, because you can see things from so many different sides. It's like a blessing and a curse, right? I can see how awesome it's going to be and how great, and I talk myself into it. I go to bed excited, I wake up excited, and then poof. It's like I think of all the ways that, and this is probably just a normal thought for any entrepreneur. It's probably not, unique. I'm sure it's not unique to me at all. So I'm sure you at home, you have the same issue. If you're thinking this is going to be an awesome idea, at least for me, and then I will go on the other side of it and break it down, and why it's not a good idea. And by the time I'm done doing that, I'm like, well, shit. This isn't a very good idea anymore. This idea actually it just sucks. So you end up finding a bunch of points why you can't do it, or why it'll be hard to do, but not just that, like why it won't sell, or what I should do instead. Or maybe you go get feedback from people. So I'm going to give you an example of that today, and I'm going to say consistently, I do this to myself over and over again. And it's probably good, and it's probably also bad, because I can talk myself out of what could be some good ideas, which is almost why I think somebody telling me an idea and running with it is probably the way for me, because I tend to pick apart everything and see all the negatives, and it's a real problem, because you don't want to have to break down all the negatives just to talk yourself out of an idea that you had. I almost wish I was more naive and just could go and do the idea, because I probably had good reasons to start with. So anyway, let me get right to it. Let's talk about what I was actually thinking. So I have two separate Amazon accounts, right? These Amazon accounts are completely legit. One's under my wife, the other one's under myself. They're under different addresses, different LLCs. They sold different things within the terms and conditions, right? There's a business need for it. One business sold like the medical boxes, and one business sold the chore charts, and there was other products sold on that one business versus the other business. So I didn't want to mix and match, which you're not allowed to do. So completely legit accounts. I have two separate accounts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch maybe like what I'd call almost like a passion product, or something I want to do on one account, and then the other account I'm going to keep private, and I'm going to do it on my own, because I don't want to have a bunch of copycats. And if you do, so what I'm starting to realize is, if you do things hard enough that are hard enough to do, it's unlikely that other people will do them, right? Just because they don't know how. It's hard to do, and that's a barrier to entry. So let me walk you through the idea that I was thinking I was going to do, but I'm already doubting myself, because I've already picked it apart, and I don't know. So let's jump right into it. Let's not waste any more time. So I've specifically pulled up an account here. So this is, again, if you read Ryan Moran's book, excuse me, not Ryan Moran's book, that's a great book, but Ryan Levesque, which is Choose, he talks about the different search terms. Orchid care, he talks about beekeeping, he talks about puppy potty training. Like, they're all in this sweet spot, right? And I talked about it in the last video. And again, this isn't the only criteria you'd want to use, and I'll get to that. So I wanted to come up with a basketball program for coaches. not for players, specifically for coaches. And the reason behind that is because I had issues with just my confidence level. Not necessarily. I was coaching little kids. You're coaching fourth graders, third graders, fifth graders, whatever. Like they're looking up to you. Like it's easier. It's harder if you were to jump into a junior high or high school situation. But for anybody who's ever coached, it can be a little intimidating because it's just a little uncomfortable. Unless you do it a lot or you've done it in the past, it just gives you a little butterflies. You want to do good. You want to do good right by the parents. You want to do right by the kids, right? So, I wanted to have a plan in place, but then, I played basketball, right? Sure, I know layups, I know drills, I know some offenses, of course. I know the rules, but trying to break that down into a 1-hour practice, or to break that down so kids can follow it and be efficient, one of the biggest things I realized was that, I can solve this problem. I can make some kind of system so when you go in as a new coach, this can help you be efficient. It can break down. The problem we had is we only had an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half per week to practice. They did have another practice, but it was all drills. So I would want to concentrate on more the rules and the plays and the strategy, right? But drills are so important at that age, right? But even then, if you had to do the drills yourself, which I didn't, we had somebody come in and do the drills, specifically like a basketball guru type of guy, right? So the problem I was trying to solve there was that I want to have a system that's easy to set up for an incoming coach, a dad who's played before, or a mom who's played before. They can go in and it's easy to lay out, and you have times assigned to each unit. And I was going to put them in a almost like a deck of cards, but have it laid out in a folder or a binder. Kind of like if you've ever collected baseball cards as a kid, have a sleeve and put them in order. So 5, 10, you have 5-minute drills, 5 minutes of this drill, 5 minutes of this drill, maybe 10 minutes of this offense, right? So you lay it all out and you create your own 60-minute practice. The biggest issue we had was that we couldn't get through a whole practice efficiently, right? We would waste too much time on maybe kids would want to play a game. So they deserved it. They worked hard, so we'd play a game. But, and then I was okay, well, we worked on layups, we worked on foul shots, we played a game of knockout, right? You get the idea. If you know anything about basketball or whatever sport it is, soccer or hockey, it doesn't really matter what you're coaching. But in this case, I wanted to make it specifically for basketball because that's what I was coaching. And that's what I understand the best. I played soccer as a kid and some other sports, but I don't really know the rules really well. And this would actually be a good system set up for something like that too. So anyway, I thought about setting up a basketball system to help coaches make their practice very efficient and make it so they could get through an hour practice like clockwork, right? You've already set it out. We're going to do crossover dribbles, right, left-handed dribbling for 5 minutes. And then I have the card. We'll slide that card in. For the next 5 minutes, we'll be doing foul shots and layups or whatever. So all these would have times, and you could write in the time if you want. So create your own little 16-minute custom program, okay? And I thought that's a good idea. Now, and this will be great, right? And what I could do is I could have QR codes on the back. Now, the drill card would explain how to do the drill. It would have a time assigned to it, or a box, an empty box, where you could write your own time in. So if you want to do crossover dribbling and right and left-hand dribbling for 5 minutes each, you could do that, right? Or you could do them for a minute each. You can write your own time and create your own program, but it would have a suggested time. So I think that would be really good for me to have, right? To have this little system. And in addition, I would bundle maybe one of those boards that you can write your X's and O's on. In addition to that, I would add in, probably a marker to write that on there. And I would probably have the QR code on the back, which is what I was thinking. And you could scan the QR code with your phone. It would take you to the YouTube video, which is really easy to do. And it would show you the drill. So I'd have my daughter or somebody like myself showing you how to do the drill. And that would be a good visual experience if that's what you wanted, aside from the card, right? So here's where it gets bigger, and here's where my vision is, right? And this is before I've started talking myself out of this, right? So I'm thinking this is going to be great. I see it. I see the vision. And what I've noticed, and thank you for Matt, friend of mine, Matt and Paul Savage, great people, man. I'm so impressed with what they've done. They are amazing at what they're doing now. They're taking their sales to a whole nother level, and it's fantastic. And I'm so proud of them. I mean, I don't want to say I'm envious of them, because in like some respects I am, but it's not envy. It's just like, man, I am so impressed with what they're doing. I just want to say thank you for taking me behind the scenes. So, you know, and they're both doing that, and I can't be thankful enough. I'm so blessed. Thank God, and thank Matt and Paul and Josh and all my friends I talk to for taking me behind the scenes. Matt took me behind the scenes of his Instagram account for his product, which is just phenomenal. He showed me how he's contacting micro-influencers, and he's getting them to take a look at his product, sending them the product, and you know, just seeing if they want to take a look at it, and if they'll make a video about it. And you know, you can give him a percentage, and it's doing great, man. He's crushing. Unbelievable. Really great what he's done with his brand. And it truly is a brand now, because it's identifying with somebody, and I'll talk about that shortly. So what I wanted to do with this is I wanted to have those QR codes, and I was even thinking if I could find basketball coaches, or not coaches, people that do the drills, and they do like training programs and drills online, right? You see them on YouTube. Like, a lot of people will go to their phones first on YouTube. If you want to come up with a drill, or you want to know how to run a certain offense, you go on YouTube and you look it up. So what I was thinking is I could have these influencers who have, you know, a good amount of followers on YouTube. They probably have Instagram pages. So I could contact them directly and say, hey, I'm selling a product that helps new coaches, and they're the ones consuming your content. So maybe I could have them contact you. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I could have you do a video for me showing them how to do this drill, or showing them how to do this offense, or showing them how to do a give and go. And that would take them to your page. Gets you a potential subscriber, gets your content in front of them, but also helps me out because it makes the content for me. So that QR code could go directly to their YouTube showing this video, and then at the end of it, you could ask them to subscribe, right? So it's a win-win for both of us. I sell them the product on wherever, Amazon or my own site. They buy the product, and then in turn, I get help with making the videos, and that goes to them to help them with subscribing, or maybe they sell a training program. So you scratch my back, I scratch yours type of thing. And I really think it could be effective and it could work. And I'm thinking this could be really great. Like, I am so pumped. I'm excited. Like, this is something that I could have used. And the nice part is, like, if you're building this practice, if you can just quickly scan the QR code, it shows you the drill. It's all laid out in front of you, maybe on a board or a folder. And you've got your custom practice set up. Like, we need to work more on passing today, or we need to work more on inbounding, some inbound plays. We could set up 20 minutes aside for different inbound plays, right? So it's customizable in that respect. So I still think it's a great idea, and it's awesome, right? So I go to look up, like, the sweet spot. Again, this book, Choose, Ryan Levesque. So, you know, and I joined coaching groups, and I immediately get responses from these coaching groups when I said that. Like, I'm really excited to hear about this. Tell me more. And, you know, they thought it was already made. I'm like, no, it's not made yet. I'm just trying to get information. But the responses were quick, and people seemed to be interested, which is great. Like, I think there's a real need for this. So how have I already started talking myself out of this? And that's kind of what the video is about, and what I continually do to myself. So first of all, I talked to a couple of the friends of mine that do e-commerce. And I think there was some miscommunication, and one thought it was for players. He's like, well, I play basketball. I don't want us to look at this. I said, well, this isn't for you. This is for the coach, right? Specifically for the coach. And I talked to somebody else about it, a friend of mine. He said, you know, he wasn't convinced of it either. So I really got some bad feedback from them. They didn't see it, right? And I'm thinking, crap. I don't want to be completely naive and do it despite what other people are telling me. I want to try to take that feedback. But sometimes people can't see what you see. And that goes into a whole nother video maybe. But so anyway, let me show you what I'm seeing at least. And then when I started talking myself out. So that's really my first red flag. I'm like, well, maybe that's not going to work, you know. But I don't know that they see what I see. But it doesn't matter. Maybe it's just not a good idea. I don't know. So the one thing about a lot of the products I noticed a lot of people doing are consumable products. Like, so my idea was mix in the influencers, but also upsell them with new card packs and new influencers added onto those card packs with the QR codes, right? So let's jump into this. So if you read the book Choose, he talks about the sweet spot. Now, I launched a chore chart and medical books in the past. They happen to be in this sweet spot. I didn't know. So if you go like past 5 years, even if you go past 12 months, right? Or if you go 2004 to present, assuming this thing existed, you can see how they're all touching, right? They're all in this same spot. And again, if I let's just go past 5 years. If I type in something that is like, basketball, like I did this last time in my video, it's way too big, right? You can't even see the other ones now; they're so small. It's such a big market. So you need to niche it down. So what about basketball coaching, right? Look at that. It's a little bigger, and you see the spikes because it's somewhat seasonal, right? Like during the winter time, you're going to see the spikes, but actually during March Madness, right? That's where that's why it's so high right now, March Madness, right? But you see how it's down here in the sweet spot, right? It's touching, it's in the sweet spot. It's a little bigger, but basketball drills are in that sweet spot, okay? Basketball. There was another one too. I don't remember what the other one was, but it's also in the sweet spot. But so, basketball drills, basketball coaching. There's another term, and I can't remember what it is. It has to do with basketball, but they're in the sweet spot. So I'm thinking to myself, like, it's a decent sized market. It seems to be in the sweet spot. Like, that's a good sign, but that's not all I'm looking at. So then I go to Amazon, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, does a product like this already exist? Now, a lot of there's basketball coaching books. Well, how about basketball drills? Let's just type that in. So if I type in basketball drills, hold on one second here. Let me fix this. So let's just go back to Amazon, right? So if I just go to basketball, so here's some of the things I was looking at that I found. Like, there's already a basketball cards, right? So this is sort of similar to what I would be doing. And then when I looked at the amount of sales, it was like 1 or 2 per day, which is really bad. But this is kind of the idea, but it's different, right? Because mine would have, and this right here, this is a similar thing too. And they're barely making any sales for these, right? So mine would go into like a system to help you essentially, and here's another one, essentially make your practices more efficient. So mine takes it a step further and also bundles like a, so I'm already doubting it because of the sales on these. So if we look at the sales on these, so let's type in basketball cards or drill cards maybe. All right, so we can see the sales here, 6 per day, and that's only got 4 stars. They must be, but they're sponsoring it, right? They're promoting it. They're probably losing money trying to do that. If I'm looking at, so basketball cards, this is more like collectors. So basketball drill cards. Oh, basketball equipment was the other term, right? But we're not selling equipment. So basketball drill cards. So like right here, they're selling none. I don't think it doesn't show. I mean, they're promoting it. So they've already got something similar. Mine takes it a step further. Now, I didn't know about any of these when I thought of this idea. See, only 1 per day, 2 per day, like that's not a good sign. There's not any revenue there, and that's concerning. Could I drive it off of Amazon? Sure. But it's concerning that there's not a lot of people buying it. Maybe they don't see it, and it's got to be obvious. So like you see how it's like in sleeves. So imagine putting these cards like in a system where you could have an hour-long practice. They all have times assigned to them, and that's sort of the idea behind it. In addition, it would include, basketball board, or let's just put in training. So training was like more like what I sold before, this type of thing, right? Um, it's in a sweet spot as well. But still, basketball IQ. There's a lot of books. There are some training. Let's put basketball coaching kit. And even though that's not going to be like the key word, it's going to give us what we're looking for. Kit. So, like, I would include one of these, and then I would have put like the system in there with the cards and with the basically set it out the training, so you could efficiently do your training. I think it's a good idea. But what about apps? Right? Like, apps kind of do that already. So this is myself talking myself out of it. So the sales look abysmal. The it's somewhat seasonal. I actually have this one right here. It's nice. 18 a day. That's pretty good. It's really good. I'm not convinced that I can sell enough on here. I don't want to launch into a dead market. And it's not dead, but I don't want to launch into a market. I'd have to do some heavy social media and some heavy, I see the need for it. I think it solves a problem. I think there is a demand for it, but I don't see that demand on here. Not with the stuff that would be like what I launched or like what I'm looking to launch. There's not anything that's exactly like I'm going to launch, but there are things that are sort of like it. So this is a playbook. They sell 3 a day. It's not bad. Like, you would have plays in there, like play cards, right? The reason I'm talking about this is because I thought it was such a great idea, and then the more I look at the sales, it worries me. So I don't know. I don't know now. It's scary to me now to do. So, one of the other things I was doing, and this is from a product perspective, it's not from an avatar perspective, right? So I found the product on. So let's put that to the side. I don't know that I'm going to do this just simply because the sales are abysmal. Like, I just don't see it selling well. Anytime I've seen, these are mostly books. Yes, that's pretty easy to talk myself out of. Could I get it made here? Yes. It'd be very expensive. And I could get it made in China a lot cheaper. And, I had this argument with a buddy last night where he said, oh, the Chinese just copy it. He's so bitter about the Chinese copying. Like, look, I'm bitter too. I've had every product I've had copied. It's not the point. You have to build a brand. And how do you build that brand? You have to build a brand identity. And how do you build that brand identity? That's what I've been trying to figure out. I heard Alex Hormozy talk about what is a brand, and the biggest thing he said that I remember was that a brand is something that is identified with someone. So maybe you think of like the General Car Insurance, you think of Shaquille O'Neal, right? You think of, I don't know, even if McDonald's does it, they have a celebrity meal. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you associate with somebody famous that they do commercials. Like, what is it, Capital One or City or something that I can't remember her name. I mean, they all do it, right? These celebrities, so they identify. So if you can identify your brand with a famous player or with, so we don't have access to that, right? I can't call an NBA player and be like, yeah, I want you to promote my product. I'll pay you $500. Yeah, it's a joke, right? So what I'm beginning to realize is it's all micro influencers you can start with. You can send them your product for free, see if they like it, and see if you can get 20 people that have 15, 12,000 followers. That's a start right there. That starts building your brand identity. If it's a good product and it's made well and has good quality, that starts building your brand identity. Then maybe you get into and again, this is from what I saw on Matt's account. Thank you, man. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. So these are like the X's and O's, right? Like the true like how-to, which I didn't understand. So it's just a matter of being polite to people, asking them if they don't mind taking a look at your product, setting up an affiliate with them, and it's actually not that hard to do. So if you can set that up with 20 micro-influencers and this starts building up to people that have 50, 100,000, 200,000 followers, and they get their product on their feed, that's a ton of eyes you're getting in front of. I mean, nobody really watches TV anymore. That's what people do. They go on social media. You get it on TikTok. You start creating your own content first. And then you get it on Instagram, and you get it on these influencer accounts, and your product's going to take off. So it's not about whether or not the Chinese can copy you. I'm beginning to realize it because they can copy anything, right? Essentially, not anything, but like not patented stuff, and like there's exceptions, sure, but they can essentially copy anything. So what are our differentiators? We're building a brand that identifies with many people, or one person, or many persons. That's key to building a brand. We want to have fantastic quality in packaging because that makes it stand out. The quality, they're not going to give you a good video review or a good review on Amazon or anywhere else if it's a crap product. So that goes into it. Your logo, does that resonate with your avatar, right? So this, I'm beginning to realize, is how you build a brand. It's not about where you have it made. Now, if you have the product made in the USA, that's going to make a massive difference because you can say, I had this made in the USA. People like that. People respect that. People want to buy stuff made here. The problem is most stuff isn't made here, and you can't get it made here. Now, there are many things you can get made here, but it doesn't mean, the way I'm seeing it, it doesn't mean you have to get it made in the USA. Now, would I try? Would I like it to have it made in the USA? Sure, but it doesn't mean you have to. So it's all about identifying your brand with people and the people that are wanting to see it. So for me, for this basketball program, people want, like myself, would want to see it because that's a product that I could have used that would have helped me put my practices together because with such little practice time, I wanted to do it efficiently. And I started getting better by the end of the season, but even then, I would have had nice to have it laid out. Now, I could have written it out, go on to YouTube, watched all the videos, but to have it all in front of you, all laid out for you, that to me would have been very easy. And I think it could be a great product. I am highly concerned about those sales, though. So that's where I'm at with that. I don't know for sure that I'm going to do that. I was going to even get a basketball coach, like locally, to show me all his drills, and I was going to put them into cards, and I was going to put them into a training program, and I think it could be great. It's going to take a lot of research. It's hard to do. It's not easy to do. There is research behind it. There's hard work behind it, and that's not something that people are really going to do. Now, they could copy the cards and copy that, but they wouldn't have the influencers behind them. They wouldn't have built a social media base, and that's the important part you have to do now. You can create a product. It'll just be copied. And let me give you a great example. I had this just conversation. It's always good. I appreciate arborist cards. It's always good to have these conversations because it really provokes you to think about what you're doing. So these ones are the ones I saw last night. And look, he's selling 32 of these today. Great. But look at this. This is just the same thing. Now, I don't know if he was here first or if he was here first. But they're both promoting it, right? And he's only selling 4. I don't know why. I'd have to look into it further. But this is product versus product. And then you come down here. Oh, here you go. Camping knots. But it's a similar product. He's selling 29. Okay? And here's these two. So this is where they're all sponsored here. And maybe he's just spending more on sponsorship. I don't know. Maybe he's promoting on social media. And that's what I'm going to talk about. So then you have this, like outdoor knots. Okay, he's competing with them too, all right? Now, they've niched it down a little more to arborist knots versus camping and backpacking knots. So maybe that's the difference, but he looks like he was kind of here first, and they kind of like leached off of what he did. But they're niched down further into arborist versus just camping and backpacking, right? So there is a difference there as far as the target market they're going after. And here it is, pro knot, right? So this would be more like arborist, but they, this was probably the first one. It has 5,000, right? Now, there's really no sales here, unless it's just for sale by merchant, or I'm not seeing the sales, right? Here you go, climbing knots, right? Here's another one. He was probably one of the first ones here. He has 2,400. So you see how it's just a copycat game, right? So, yeah, the Chinese can come in and copy all this stuff. There's no question about it, right? And this is a very low selling product. There's probably not much margin here, probably a few bucks. They're thinking $3 revenue. So your advertising is going to run out really quick. So how do we get those sales? How do we differentiate? Now, he's trying to create a kit. Bundling. Great. It's not a bad idea, but he's not getting his sales yet. But it's a new listing, right? He's trying to put like products together into the cards. Not a bad idea. But the thing about it is, if it's just about the product, you're going to lose. You're going to get copied. You're going to lose. It's going to be a race to the bottom. You're going to start losing on your PPC. You can't win that battle. You just can't. Unless you're the Chinese factory. And even then, you're not really winning. You're making so little. So if you were to take this and you go on to Instagram and you find people that do this and you started your own page, if that's what you are, if you do arborist, if you do climbing, tree climbing, and you get this product with them and get them to promote this product, then you're truly building out a brand. Because then you're identifying with the people that do this. And that builds up a loyal following. And it also can build up an email list. That email list is going to be invaluable to you launching other products that are going to be related to your arborist cards. It's going to be, whether it's the, I don't even know what these things are called. Just for climbing, all the climbing equipment you would need. You could start launching a whole brand off of that because people identify your brand with climbing, arborist tree climbing, right? That's the key. It's not about whether the Chinese can copy you. They can copy anything, essentially. So that's kind of what I was telling him. I'm starting to see the matrix, I think, and that's so important. So yeah, I could create that basketball program, but again, it still comes down to, are the sales there? And that's concerning. I don't know. I love the idea of it, but then I've talked myself out of it because of the revenue. And maybe I'm not seeing the bigger picture there. I have to do some more research, but I think I'm going to have to find something different. So I hope this video was informative. I know you always get those ideas, right? Like everything was matching up. The basketball drills, the basketball coaching. It's in the sweet spot. I'm in these basketball groups. It just seems like there's interest. I'm the avatar as well. I know there's a need for it for me. Then I think there's apps that can do the same thing. So just get an app made. Should I go that route? I've never done that. I could pay somebody on Fiverr or Upwork to do that. But then it's just making an app that could do the same thing. It could assign essentially virtual cards and make the whole app. So I'm like, is everybody using apps now? Would that be obsolete? You start doubting yourself and you start talking yourself out of it. On top of the revenue. So I just don't know. Like here's one here. Like how many are they selling per day? Like let's take a look. He's only selling 2 a day. Like that's not great. But that's just the cards. Mine would be different, right? Mine would be, and I think Hot Shots, I don't know if they're related to, okay. I'm not, okay, so it gives kind of a sequence. So this is somewhat similar. That's pretty neat. So that's a little different, but that's like whatever you want to do. Those are the drills you should do. So that's a great idea, but it's somewhat similar, right? I don't know if they're related to the NBA or if they're completely separate, but this isn't like an overly popular product, right? 4.3 is not horrible. 335 ratings isn't bad, but they're not. Doesn't seem like they're really promoting it. It's probably a slow seller too, and this is during the height of basketball, right? Like March Madness. Now most kids play during the winter, so maybe they had more sales in the past. And if we look here, we can get an idea of their rank. So they were ranked lower. Let me see. Yeah, I mean they were doing 40-some sales. It looks like, and now they're doing almost none. So this could be a decent product. They were doing 200. Wow, when they launched. Let's see. So during December, during the height of basketball, 800. Holy crap! Maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe it's just because it's very seasonal. This must be the slowest time because everybody's done. So, wow, look at that. They were selling quite a bit. So maybe this isn't such a bad idea. Maybe I should pursue it. Maybe I'm just catching it at the slowest possible time. That's got to be it. Wow. This was in April, May. So they launched this in April. And they were selling really well. So maybe I just have to understand that it's going to be seasonal. So that's something that might work. So there you go. So I hope this was informative. I hope you understand what I'm trying to accomplish here. It's all built into social media. It's all built into influencers. And there's one more thing I wanted to show you guys. So I'll do that on another video. It's a basketball related product that I just went up strictly off the product itself, but would also be related to this category that you could upsell on there, and you could integrate that into your site. So I'm going to try to maybe do this. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. God bless to everybody that watched. If you get a chance, if you found this informative, I truly appreciate a like and a subscribe. Helps me out a ton. I'm just trying to get trying to get this info out to more people, and just trying to help build a community that can help other sellers and other entrepreneurs. So again, have a blessed day, guys. Peace, much love to everybody.